All right, thanks everybody for coming to my speech today. My mother and father-in-law, my wife, my neighbors, everybody. Thank you for coming and tolerating me, and my wife's going to record me as I speak. So this is my speech for Communications 1100 class. Let me just get started then. My father had his first major heart attack when he was 55, and he died at 61 from heart disease. So young, relatively young these days. And my father did get his cholesterol down. It was about 150 when he actually died, and he had been keeping it at 150 because that's what the doctor said to do. But they also told him to stop smoking, and he didn't listen to that, so he kept smoking, and that was the death of him, because the cardiovascular disease, one of the big contributing factors is smoking. And my grandfather died from lung cancer when he was, I think he was 83, but still, he died. I got the call one day that he'd been diagnosed and had 6 months to live. The next day he was dead. Mm-hmm. So again, I don't think anybody in this room hasn't been affected by, the ill effects of smoking, cancer, heart disease, COPD, the list goes on. And smoking is a big contributor not only to the diseases and death of smokers, but also to non-smokers that in many cases the smoker cares most about and lives with or lives around. So of course, when you think about smoking, the first thing that comes to mind is the health of the smokers, that's going to be impacted. And that is of course true. The smoker is going to have a lot of diseases and even life-threatening diseases associated with smoking. The Surgeon General 2006 report says that cigarette smoking increases the risk for many types of cancer, and I think everybody knows that lung cancer is the first one that comes to mind, but there's a long list of bladder cancer and larynx, esophageal throat cancer that is also on the list, and things that cancers you wouldn't even think of. A lot of us have hobbies. I ride a motorcycle, and hobbies and habits in this case that can be life-threatening or cause injury, but most of them it's pretty low risk as long as you're not just a fool running around on your motorcycle at 150 miles an hour down I-20. But smoking is almost certainly going to cause some disease process, and very likely going to kill you if you smoke long enough. The risk for developing lung cancer, and this is again from the Surgeon General's 2006 report, the risk for developing lung cancer is about 23 times higher in men and 13 times higher in women compared to someone that's never smoked. So a far, far greater risk of cancer, and that's just one type of cancer, and not even all the other diseases that come along with it. The American Heart Association, cigarette smoking increases the risk of coronary heart disease, which killed my father, and when it acts with other factors, it increases it by itself. So if all you do is smoke, it increases your risk, and then with other factors it greatly increases it. On average, smokers live 13 to 14 years less than non-smokers. COPD, we didn't cover COPD. I know Ben has COPD, and that's one of the ill effects of smoking. It's the third leading cause of death in the United States, according to the American Lung Association. So it's a pretty common disease too. We talked about what it does to a smoker, but there are also the non-smokers. So non-smokers, the people that are exposed to cigarette smoke, and people that live with smokers, are also impacted health-wise by smoking. So secondhand smoke, the Surgeon General's 2006 report on secondhand smoke says that it's a serious health hazard causing close to 50,000 deaths per year. Secondhand smoke, just just the exposure to being in the same room with someone smoking, causes 50,000 deaths per year. Same report. Secondhand smoke contains carcinogen, and exposure, results in uptake by non-smokers of many of those carcinogens. So if you're a non-smoker and you're exposed to that smoke, then in blood test after you're exposed to that smoke, you had cancer-causing chemicals from that cigarette in your blood, even though you didn't smoke it. Wow. Just from being in the proximity or in the same room. Smokers, when they smoke, and this is a workplace study, so a workplace study means a typical workplace like mine, where people work in a specific position and then they go outside to smoke. So you expect, workplace productivity was increased and absenteeism was decreased among former smokers compared with current smokers. Now, this was a 2001 workplace study, which just means that everyone else is, picking up the slack for somebody that's taking a break to go smoke. A lot in the old days, people would work on the farm or the assembly line, and they would just smoke in the tractor. It didn't affect anybody else, or they would smoke wherever.
Smoke that old PA and...
Yeah, don't even have to slow down.
What?
And trying to catch my thought. Anyway, obviously, smoking impacts the health of other people, other adults, and that are exposed to secondhand smoke, and not just the smoker. And then there's, in the case of an adult, I can just walk out of the room. I can leave. I can go outside, try to get some fresh air, try to take myself out of the situation as much as possible. In the case of children, they can't. Most often they can't do that. They're stuck. They are exposed, and they're going to suffer from the effects regardless of whether they want to or not. The Surgeon General's 2006 report, a couple more study indications. The evidence indicates mechanisms by which secondhand smoke exposure could increase the risk of sudden infant death syndrome. So a baby exposed to it could just die from exposure to secondhand smoke, and probably other factors in the household as well. And that's just could increase, but even if it could increase the risk that your child dies, your infant baby dies, then you'd want to know that and want to take steps to prevent that. Also in the Surgeon General's 2006 report, extensive data describe an association that connects secondhand smoke exposure, particularly from maternal smoking, the smoking of the mother, to asthma. And I had asthma growing up. My mom didn't really smoke that I know of when I was a child, but then I didn't really know they were smoking much later in my life either. So, but my grandfather smoked. I know my dad smoked off and on, and we were always, it was not uncommon to be in the car, packed full of smoke, with no seatbelts, going down the road, and suffering the consequence of asthma. Once I left home, asthma miraculously cleared up. It's not, kids are rely on the adults in the situation to protect them and prevent them from being exposed to something dangerous. And in this case, unfortunately, often people fail. They just don't, and in a lot of cases, they don't understand. So you can't rely on just saying, "Oh, everybody knows that this is dangerous. Everybody knows that it's causes cancer or heart disease or some other long list, COPD." I think that a lot of people don't know. In the mainstream, it's for a long time smoking was glorified, and all your actors smoked and actresses. So a lot of people just took for granted that it's perfectly fine. It's totally acceptable. Why would you not do it? It's only more recently that people have started to understand that it's really fairly dangerous. And now children are becoming the next generation of smokers. So the CDC website says that each day more than 3,800 persons younger than 18 years of age smoke their first cigarette, and that's you know, that's then starts the cycle all over again. So now you have another generation that's going to smoke, going to suffer from cancer and heart disease, and expose others to those diseases as well. So in conclusion, obviously cigarette smoking's not good for you. It's unhealthy. It's a bad thing. You know, if someone said to you, you can prolong your life and you can prolong the lives of your loved ones, and you know, wouldn't you know, by doing something X, whatever it is, and wouldn't you say, yes, I'll do it, whatever it is, you know, anything to, especially if it's to save your child, you would die for your own child. But in this case, all you have to do is stop smoking. That's it. Thanks. Thanks for listening.
Good job, bro.
It is a tough job.
You did.
Oh God, we gotta do it over. You didn't start it.
You better kiss me.